Welcome back to Comics with Drew. I'm Drew, and yeah, it's been a minute. So I know that I haven't been here for a long time, and really about 2 months at this point. But it's not because I've forgotten about the channel or that I don't care about the channel. It's just that I've had a significant amount of real life stuff come up, and it's good stuff, but it's precluded me from being able to read comics and comment on them on my free hobby YouTube channel. So I will beg your pardon. But this video is probably what you've been looking for, which is me complaining about Spider-Man, which seems to be the most popular topic of this channel. So, yeah, where we last left off, I had done a review of, I think, issue 20, and now we've had issues 21 through 25. So I'm just going to talk about why this whole run of Spider-Man has been terrible, and mainly because I think that Zeb Wells has made a critical strategic error in how he is telling his story. So if you have read the last 5 issues, you will know that we have learned the backstory as to why Mary Jane has 2 kids and is with this guy named Paul, okay? And why Peter has been super nasty and mean and irritating to people. That has now been revealed in the last 5 issues, which means that we have gone through 20 issues of not knowing what's going on and just being left in the dark, because that's what Zeb Wells felt like doing, right? And to me, that's a real asinine way of approaching comics, and I think it's antagonistic to the readers, right? It reminds me of my favorite movie I love to hate, The Last Jedi, right? If you've watched The Last Jedi or read anything about why the critics love The Last Jedi, it's always about, Rian Johnson subverts your expectations. He doesn't give you what you expect, so therefore it's good, right? And there is a proper way and an improper way to subvert people's expectations. Subverting people's expectations might be doing something like what you do with Star Trek Picard Season 3, where you are giving people new stories that you didn't expect, but have the same characters that you know and love going through these new adventures, right? And we're not disrespecting the characters. We're seeing them just go on different adventures that are unexpected. That's how you subvert expectations properly, right? Where you have something happen that you were thinking that was probably going to happen, but instead something better happened. And that's, I think, the best way of approaching that. And so in The Last Jedi, that's exactly how it's not done. It's actually done in such a way as to be, I think, hateful to the fans of Star Wars and hateful to the characters. And it's just really infuriating. And what basically appears to have happened here is Zeb Wells is doing the same thing with Spider-Man. Basically, he's said, okay, well, you expect Peter to do this, and you expect Mary Jane to do this. So screw you guys, we're going to do what I want to do, and we're going to make them do all these other different things and characterize them as super unlikable people so I can subvert your expectations, right? And I am sure that there are some critics out there that love this, and I'm sure that there are some fans out there that love this. I am not one, and I would wager to think that most fans of Spider-Man would not be fans of this. And so I think, if I were to be kind and generous in my estimation and, analysis of this, I would say that Zeb made a critical mistake by not just telling this story to start off the new run of Spider-Man. And not that it would make it better, but it would at least make more sense, and we could have a better way of, getting used to what's going on. So, if you've not read the last 5 issues, warning, spoiler alert, they've been out for a minute now, so you've had plenty of time to read them. I'm going to recap 21 through 25. This is basically like a prequel for the Spider-Man #1 of the current run. It tells the story of how Peter and Mary Jane got separated, and Mary Jane wound up having 2 kids with this other guy, and Peter wound up being a jerk. And the essential conceit of it is that Mary Jane is in an alternate dimension where time passes by more slowly than Earth 616, where Peter is located, And so Peter is sent back to regular Earth while fighting this stupid Mayan deity character. And then he spends about a week or so trying to get back into the same dimension that Mary Jane's located in. And meanwhile, while that week has transpired, Mary Jane has spent years with Paul, this ex-villain sidekick stooge boy, and they have found two children that they have adopted, and they've formed this family unit and lived this wonderful happy life in an alternative universe hellscape, which makes literally no sense. And so this is all compressed into 5 issues, and so we see the majority of the issues cover Peter's attempts to get back into this other universe, right? And so we've got a week's worth of Peter's misadventures, and then finally we have him breaking back into the alternate dimension, and then he saves Mary Jane and then brings them all back. And so now that's where we currently are. Now we have issue 26 coming up next week, where people have been spoiling it all over the internet, which, by the way, if you show up in my feed, if you show up in my Twitter feed or any of my social media feeds with a spoiler for something that has not been released yet, whether it's a film or a comic book, I will straight up block you. I do not care who you are. I do not care what you're from. I don't care. I honestly, there is not a single person I would not block for doing that. So do not do it. I've had this book spoiled for me. Not that I really care too much about it, but I would prefer to read the developments that happen in the story personally, rather than have someone hate tweeting about it or hate writing articles about it and not actually, being considerate to people around them. So that being said, we're going to see hopefully this tied up in the next issue, and then we're going to be back to Peter and Mary Jane hating each other again, and Peter being mad that Mary Jane's staying with Paul with her adopted kids that look just like Mary Jane. And we're right back where we started, where we're in a situation that nobody really appreciates, nobody really likes, right? So we've had 20 issues of this insanity. So let me cut to the chase about the major problem with this. There's when you're reading stories or watching movies, what you want is big moments to be earned, okay? You want emotional moments to actually be things that make you feel powerful emotion directly because of the organic nature of the story, right? So if you've seen Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, there's a lot of amazing payoffs that happen in that story that have been built over the course of 2 or 3 or 3 actual Guardians movies, and then other, Avengers movies and stuff like that, so that when things happen that are devastating to our characters, we actually feel it, right? And you'll see movies where you have that, and great movies like, for example, Braveheart, or great movies like even Titanic, for example, they can pull at your heartstrings if you're an emotionally sensitive person, and get you to really have quite a bit of a dust storm in your eye. So that's important. Now, then there are movies where you have a bunch of stuff going on, and then all of a sudden you're supposed to have this big emotional, reaction to something that happens to our characters, but you don't care about the characters because we haven't seen the characters, we haven't spent time with characters, and oftentimes this happens in films because there's just not a lot of time or runtime devoted to, building that relationship that you have and seeing that character for who they are and learning to care about that character. And you need to have that to make something pay off. So in this story, Zeb Wells has basically taken Paul and the kids, and we don't really see anything other than we don't know who they are, where they're coming from, and they're just doing normal, stupid household things that little kids do. We don't have any relationship with these kids as readers. We don't have any relationship with Paul other than we don't like Paul as readers. And so in this run of 5 issues, 21 through 25, Wells basically says, I'm going to do a montage. So now you can understand why Mary Jane feels the way that she feels. And quite frankly, I don't understand why she feels the way that she feels, because we're reading it basically from Peter's perspective of going through an entire week and then he comes back and there she is again, right? And now I understand that she spent years with Paul and the kids and whatnot. That is not a payoff that works for readers. So what could have been done, and what Zeb Wells should have done, in my opinion, is if I were going to fix this, I would have just started out from the front of the story, right at issue number 1, and then I would have had this entire run of, disaster transpire, and then I would have spent 20 issues, watching Mary Jane and Paul go through their adventures in, this weird hellscape where apparently nobody else lives, but they can find these couple of kids, and then see the challenges and problems that they overcome, right? And as they grow closer together. And then we could see why Mary Jane feels the way she feels. And we could see why Peter didn't feel the way he felt about this stuff. And that would have been difficult to do with, the different timelines and the different transpiring time. But, they could have filled in other blanks or had Peter doing other things that kind of could have padded that runtime out, basically, of 20 issues. And that would have been a better way of doing this story. It's still a garbage tier story. It's still a story that I don't like. I don't like the way the characters act. I don't like the way the characters are portrayed. I don't like where they are in the story and the relationships. None of it matters to me, and it's not helped by garbage art, okay? And frankly, we've had 25 issues of John Romita Jr.'s terrible art, okay? And again, this isn't personal to John, but quite frankly, the art is just not up to snuff for what we would expect for an S-tier comic title like Amazing Spider-Man. So, to summarize, the last 5 issues have basically told us what we should have been told 20 issues ago in the first place, and there is no emotional payoff that's worth the price of spending the money reading this garbage. So it's super frustrating. For purposes of this video, I kind of like to think of it as a state of the Amazing Spider-Man comic series, but it's just terrible at this point. So I don't know where they're going to go with this. I don't know what Zeb is going to be doing. I don't even know if he's going to continue being on the book. He might be, but I don't see any light in the horizon on this, right? I don't see any hope coming for this. I think that this is just going to be a troll job, and it's been a troll job, and it's incredibly frustrating. So yeah, that's what I have to say about that. So I'm going to try to get back into doing some videos again. There's a new Green Lantern, so I'm going to do a video about that. And there's also, so far from what I've read, I've actually been enjoying the Fantastic Four, the new run there, and that's been really good. So I'm going to do a video on that as well. So I'm also doing the contest still. Connor is still leading the contest. The contest question for today is, what is your favorite Spider-Man video game? So go ahead and leave a comment with your favorite Spider-Man video game, and I will enter you into the drawing. And the drawing is going to be for a graphic novel, like a trade paperback, around $25 value on Amazon of your choice. And we'll see what happens. But I'm going to, I think, pull the plug on that particular contest in the next video or two, and once that's done, we'll go ahead and take care of that. But again, thanks for watching Comics with Drew. I'm Drew, and I'll catch you next time.